Thank you very much, and good morning. And yes, it is not only me, but I'm very happy today to be joined by Louise to have this session. And Louise, you want to introduce yourself maybe?
Yeah, hi. So I'm Louise Hitch, and I head up the Digital Research Solutions team at MMR Research.
Excellent, thank you. And what we want to be talking to you about in the next 20 odd minutes is, first of all, I'll give a brief presentation about who we are, what we're doing, and what our journey was on generative AI as a tool and software provider. Then Louise will take us through what MMR has been doing and how they are approaching AI and what their experiences are and what the further plans are on that front. And then we'll conclude with a future outlook of where we think the world is going, where we are going, and how things will evolve. So starting with the generative AI journey that we as MarketLogic have been on, and well, MarketLogic, first of all, the inevitable introduction chart. We are a software as a service company. We provide a platform that allows our customers to capture all the knowledge and insights they have, be it in-house, be it secondary or other paid sources, be it public data, bring that all together, and then allow either AI or experts in the insights function to work with those data and ultimately inform business stakeholders to activate the insights, to bring them to life, to use them in decisions and inform them. But we want to talk specifically about the generative AI journey we have been on, and we started that already quite a while ago, actually well in advance of the ChatGPT moment, which was a nice coincidence in how the world evolved. So we had started already when those GPT-3 models came out early to think about how can we apply this technology to those insights use cases. And not only because AI and Gen AI is fascinating, but we really believe that this is now an enabler that allows us to bring those insights to life in a completely different way compared to how we were able to do it previously with technology. And so we set out to do that, to explore how to do it. We worked with lead customers. It took us 1.5 years to get to a product, which we then finally launched early last year, and of course then also had further iterations, further learnings, and actually also then enhancements on our way to provide more capabilities for our customers. And of course, you could ask, well, Gen AI insights, why wouldn't I just take all my reports, stick them into ChatGPT and ask my question and be done with it? What sets us apart, I would say, is first of all, our product, we call it DeepSights, is really specifically trained for the insights use cases. And I'll speak a little bit more in a moment about what that means. But also, we are already bringing these out-of-the-box connections to the insights ecosystem. Like if you have your secondary providers, of course, you want to have the information on the platform, and, well, good luck getting that into ChatGPT. Of course, also, what we do is secure, is enterprise grade, and is trustworthy. And trust, of course, is also a big topic in the general applications that we do. And therefore, as we apply AI to these use cases, our initial focus was trust as a topic. If you, as a stakeholder, go to a system, ask a question and get information, you need to be sure you can trust what you get out. You can trust that the answer you get is correct, that it's grounded in the actual facts and evidence, and also that it doesn't miss relevant evidence, because that might as well be a major error and omission. And so therefore, we invested a lot of efforts and time into getting that to work, and therefore also, and I don't want to go into too much detail, we invented, if I may call it invented, or developed some proprietary mechanisms that go beyond what you would do with a normal ChatGPT style interaction. Of course, we start at the core of it with the reports and documents, with the knowledge and insights that our customers have, and then we use AI to extract what are the key findings, learnings, insights in those documents. Oh, unfortunately, this whole thing is somewhat broken. I should have maybe checked that slide as well this morning. Anyway, so starting with reports, then we extract what the findings are, then we go in and as people ask their questions, we pull out what seems to be important from your knowledge estate, but we not just rely on what we find there. We have developed our what we call here deep evidence analysis, a layer where we fine-tuned AI together with lead customers to really make sure the information we pick is applicable for the question. And that's really important here, and there's a big difference to other knowledge management applications, because in insights use cases, it's all about you can rely on this piece of evidence to be not only accurate, but also current. So whatever was maybe the most brilliant insight 18 months ago might be completely irrelevant today. So these aspects all need to be taken into account, and that's what we do here before we provide answers to our customers. And then what we do is we have a system that now allows very natural interactions where people can ask their questions, stakeholders can go in and ask their questions, and get these answers generated from all the knowledge estate, and can even pull out more complex ad hoc reports that go across all the sources, integrate all the information, and generate detailed insights, always keeping the references, always keeping the citations and the transparency where everything comes from. That's the AI part of what we do, and that's what we wanted to talk about today. But of course, not everything is AI. Of course, the human element is still absolutely crucial and important. So of course, we also have in our software universe tools to help experts bring their expertise to life, to curate content, to publish and target content, and also to keep their stakeholders up to date with their specific knowledge and insights. But having said all that, I want to hand it over to Louise to talk us through how MMR approaches this.
Thanks very much, Olaf. So yeah, first a little bit of an introduction to MMR and myself. So MMR was founded about 35 years ago with the idea of bringing together consumer and sensory research. And since then, as you can see, the MMR family has grown as a collective of brands to truly champion product experience, and we bring together the right skill set at the relevant stage of the MPD cycle. We work with some of the biggest FMCG and CPG brands in the world, and MMR alone is a growing team of 500 people across the world in 9 different offices, and we continue to grow. And it was this growth that really, I think, initially led us to explore a partnership with Olaf and his team. So we're also fortunate to have quite a strong support from the SLT for internal innovation. So we're in quite a unique position in MMR because we have an internal tech innovation team called Nova, and they really focus on identifying, experimenting with different technologies. So we still believe that the human is at the heart of everything that we do, but they really do try and kind of drive innovation for our clients, exploring different ways to generate insight. And they definitely kind of believe that it's not just tech for tech's sake. So we have quite a rigorous evaluation process that I think Olaf and his team thank us for, but yeah, hopefully it makes a better partnership. So they're platform agnostic. We explore the market, test different things out, and really anything that we deploy internally needs to have tangible value. I head up the digital team within MMR, and we focus on implementation and kind of ongoing usage of these different platforms. So we ensure adoption, ensure that we're getting maximum benefit out of the partnerships. So alongside client research needs, Nova do focus on innovation opportunities for internal ways of working. And this is where we really started to explore a Gen AI knowledge solution. So what were we looking for? We were looking for, first of all, accessibility. So we wanted all teams across the business to be able to expand their knowledge. We wanted to find an efficient solution to free up the back and forth that was essentially being spent on answering the same questions over and over again. Thirdly, we're wanting something quick, so as near instant as possible. And as Olaf touched on, when you were developing a deep sites, we wanted to ensure relevancy. So with the combination of our team growth and evolving methodologies, we needed to make sure that the information returned was relevant and effectively one source of truth. And linked to that, accuracy and surfacing information in an unbiased way, I think was super important to us. So although our initial interest in a Gen AI knowledge solution was internal, we also wanted to partner with a solution that could grow with us as we explored different ways and different use cases. So why did we choose to partner with Market Logic? So, as Olaf has talked about, and as I think Vanessa very beautifully illustrated yesterday from Google, the importance of consumers' data privacy, the security of our information and the confidentiality of that is paramount. And as Olaf said, that, again, is very important to Market Logic as well, so we're aligned on that. The second is integration. So a lot of the partners that we explored wanted us to migrate everything across to their own systems, and that really wasn't what we wanted to do. We wanted a solution that fitted in with existing apps, existing tools, and really connected with things that people were already using. Thirdly, as again Olaf mentioned, the fact that Market Logic and DeepSights is really focused on the insights industry was super important to us. So it's trained on similar data, the models are really relevant, and you understand our needs as a research business, which makes for a great partnership. So how's it going, and what impact has it had within the business? So we are still in the early stages. So as Olaf mentioned, DeepSights launched officially last year, and we've been partnering with them since the end of last year. But we're seeing some really positive initial feedback. As I said, humans are still at the heart of everything that we do at MMR, but the way that we're seeing DeepSights is acting as a really useful team member. I think particularly its ability to concisely summarize a lot of content, and particularly citing sources for further human investigation. I think that is really where we're seeing it have the most benefits. And the two main channels, I suppose, in terms of mechanics, the business is mainly using it through the Teams integration. So it's how our research teams are used to interacting. We wanted to really mimic that conversational behavior. So in the same way that you might have popped a question to a team member, you can have that direct conversation with DeepSights and have that interaction. And the other way it's being used is to generate more in-depth reports. So they're thematically structured. You can just get a bit more depth on a particular topic, and that's created, I think I did another trial yesterday, within about 30 seconds, I think it was this, brilliant report on a particular question that I had. And I wanted to show a couple of specific examples with the way that people are using it internally. And the first is, as I think Sandeep mentioned yesterday, with virtual influencers. DeepSights doesn't sleep. Hopefully your teams do. Whereas DeepSights is always on, whether you're writing a proposal slide in burning the midnight oil, you can get an instant answer. You don't have to wait for your team. And it facilitates access to a wider pool of learning, particularly, as I mentioned, MMR has grown quite rapidly recently. We've got lots of different teams across different brands, and it means your pool of inspiration, you're not just asking the same people and circulating the same information within those teams. It really broadens your horizons and has a lot of benefits to that cross-team learning. And the third is, I think Jenny from Babel mentioned yesterday about democratizing access to knowledge and insight. And we found that it's particularly useful for onboarding new employees, and even if you've got a role shift within a company as large as ours, it can be useful as a refresher on certain topics and things like that. I recently came back from mat leave, and I think the other Jenny from Catholics, weaning a baby is, definitely like trying to feed a combative octopus is the way I would describe it. And when I came back from mat leave, there are a few things. We know how many acronyms we have in this industry, so even just a refresher on some of those things was, really helpful. And DeepSights doesn't judge a question. There's no such thing as a silly question, literally. And no one ever needs to know that you didn't know the answer, which is great. So I think this particular quote sums it up quite nicely and reflects the sentiment within MMR and how we're using it. So DeepSight's an AI-powered search engine on steroids. I think, paints quite the picture. And I wanted to share a little bit about what we've learned from deploying DeepSights and what we've learned so far about the enablement, including some ideas for how we're planning to continue to improve the usage and implementation within MMR. So I think first, having a solid foundation of content is really key. It has highlighted some, I think, knowledge gaps and inconsistencies in our own materials, which I think is, something that we can address and continue to improve the results that it returns. I think, secondly, starting small with traction. We've spoken a lot about kind of how to implement AI and things like that within the research cycle. So I think starting small, having a hook for teams that they can really see its usefulness and make it memorable. So even if it's just one use case that an individual has, if it sticks with them, then that's great. I think making it easy. So as I mentioned, one of the selection criteria was having it integrate into our own workflows, which we've seen has been hugely beneficial. If it seamlessly fits into the ways that people are already working, adoption and usage, you're setting yourself up for success. And I think the fourth thing is being consistent with the messaging. So in my team, we often talk about saying it thrice before it sticks. So just really keeping on, obviously taking feedback on board, but being consistent with the message and the goal that you're trying to achieve with any new implementation, I think is really, really key. And on that, as a conclusion, we want to take a look into MMR and MarketLogic's crystal balls for the future of Qual and the future goals that we both have. And I think within MMR, we do see the future of Qual research as AI-enabled. So I think the human is still at the heart of everything that we do, but we're continuously leveraging technology in incremental ways to really enhance the work that we deliver for clients and internal ways of working as well. And really the way that we're doing this is enhancing our knowledge, our creativity, and fueling better connection with consumers. So the first pillar is synthesize, and this is one of the ways in which DeepSights fits into our goals. This is naturally where Gen AI has exceptional potential. And we've seen that already with DeepSights, fueling desk research, and Marissa mentioned social listening. Boolean query writing is definitely an art form, I think. So we're seeing the opportunities within that synthesis of a lot of data. But we're also seeing the ability for AI to feed into analysis of primary Qual data. I think our approach is, again, still very much human-centered, but we can remove language barriers with machine translations through DeepL. We can pull together content from a variety of different sources that otherwise would have been more difficult to manage. And we can actually, what we found is use AI to pull apart segment differences more easily. So I think we're finding these ways that it can just enable the human that's at the center of that analysis to focus their efforts on the interpretation, the storytelling, and really that execution side of things. And I think under the create pillar, we were chatting to Olaf earlier, and we thought this maybe should be changed to generate rather than create, but semantics. We're seeing AI used really powerfully here as a starting point for discussions. So whether it's creating more pointed stimulus to go into research, to put in front of consumers, or just fueling internal conversations for hypothesis generation. You can put creative prompts into ChatGPT and it surfaces some interesting things that you might not have thought of, and they can just be starting points for thought pieces and fueling conversations. And I think from a visualization point of view, we're seeing really effective use of AI, combining tools like Midjourney and DALL-E 3 with our internal creative expertise. We find that's really, really effective even within groups. So if you've got, you're co-creating pack or something like that, you can feed some prompts in, you can generate images based on, in real time, what consumers have said, and it enables them to better articulate their thoughts if they give some feedback on something that you've put in front of them, and it's quite rewarding for them to visualize something that they've actually suggested and created in that. So it's really just creating that engaging and dynamic environment within a group situation. And from a connection point of view, we've been deploying AI in hugely powerful ways to connect with consumers. So particularly, we've developed our own kind of internal capabilities with conversational AI and chatbots specifically. And we've done that both qualitatively and quantitatively. I think for now, what we're doing and focusing on, I think a couple of people have mentioned it, Marissa from a kind of LLM perspective, and Olaf in terms of training the models. What we're doing is embedding our own proprietary IP in training those models specifically, developing solutions. We're building a sensory chatbot at the moment that we're doing a lot of training of the models to really decode the entire sensory product journey. A lot of work, but it's, we're seeing really promising results from things like that. And importantly, we're enabling that depth, but at scale. So that's an overview of where we see MMR's focus on kind of AI-enabled research, or the thing, as I think we were calling it in our roundtable yesterday. I'll pass over to Olaf to share Market Logic's future journey.
Thank you very much, Louise, for those very insightful glimpses at how you use this. If I now flip the lens again to our side, how do we see AI and specifically our product platform, DeepSights, evolving? There's a couple of major areas that we see focus on. One, of course, is this insights ecosystem that I talked about. We already have a lot, but all of the value of this lives and dies somehow with the data that's in there. So, of course, we are committed to broaden the base there. And for example, we have already a couple of integrations also with consumer video platforms where we can then pull in video transcripts, etc. But this is something which we're still building out and expanding further to make sure that everything's in the platform and accessible to the AI, but also for the human, of course. But on top of that, maybe more interestingly, a next step will be not only to ask questions and get kind of, well, here's everything we know. You can be sure that this is trusted. You can be sure that we found everything and it's easy to consume, but also give the researcher then a tool at hand, like a workbench that is AI-enabled to do the work to identify new findings and insights, and to work through the content that you really have, but not only to work through the specific content maybe of one specific transcript, but also at the same time leverage the benefit that all the other knowledge is available on the platform, so you can contrast and compare that and work everything together and weave all these insights together in a more holistic point of view. Another very important aspect, which we call here AI-fied best practices, is that today AI, to a large extent, is a black box. Like you do something, throw something in, something comes out, which may be great, but you don't know exactly how it was done. Usually you don't get it in exactly the format you want to have it in. And of course, being experts, you all have your best practices, your methods, you know how you want to do something. But currently it's very difficult to impossible to really map that to how the AI does a job. And so therefore one big focus area is to enable the customer to bring their best practices into the AI, to instruct the AI how certain things shall be done, what sources to be used, how to look at information, through what steps to go, and then also ultimately in what kind of format and structure to come back with the end results, so that it really becomes like your way of working that the AI executes and not just a black box. And finally, we think that also now bridging the gap to this creative process is very promising. We have already today a couple of customers who use also Gen AI to create, for example, concepts, and already there we are also integrated to feed those concept generators with insights from all the knowledge estates, so to help guide the creation process. But also a very intriguing aspect we're working on is to then help evaluate the creative simply by deconstructing it with the AI and mapping against everything we know already from our customers, from things we tried previously, from things that worked, that didn't work in same or different contexts. So again, of course, not to replace the human, but rather to speed up to get to the 70% solution much, much quicker, and then focus all the expert brain on getting the last 30% right. So these are the main areas that we see for the shorter and midterm evolving. Of course, nobody knows what the world will look like in 3 years from now, but we'll see. And with that, we want to conclude the session. Of course, also a little call to action, as after the session you maybe file out for the coffee machines. Of course, we're happy to also demonstrate what we can do to you. Happy to share a free trial to you so you can actually convince yourself that trusted AI can be trusted. But also, this is something you absolutely have to work through for yourself. And the only encouragement I want to make, whenever you evaluate an AI solution, make sure you really drill down to the last detail of understanding that what you get is really what you should get and it's really truthful and trustworthy, because that is not so easy, and I have seen many customer evaluations fail to do that, and I really encourage you to be very diligent whenever you evaluate AI. But that was what we wanted to share, and with that we want to conclude and I think take some questions.
Thank you so much. Very complex and interesting topic, I have to say. So I bet there are many questions.
Hi, PJ from Bose again. As an agency, I imagine sometimes you have clients who work in the same industry or are competitors with each other. You might work with one company a year and another company 2 years later. Do you have any steps in place for their knowledge not to contaminate each other, especially if you're legally obliged to do so?
Yeah, no, it's a great question, and I think this is where we started small with using it just internally at the moment on our own kind of methodologies and things like that as a kind of toolkit search function. Olaf can potentially speak to the way that DeepSights is developing tools to be able to ring fence client confidential material and, as you say, not learn from each other, and that's where I think the training the models and particularly Market Logic and DeepSights understands the needs from an insights business and specifically, the requirement to keep things separate, have those walls in between. So perhaps you can speak to that.
Of course, segregation of data is a big topic, not only for customers as a whole, so to speak, but also then in these cases, that's what we support, for example, then with very fine-grained access control, so you can partition the data universes and make sure that only those pieces of the information cake can be accessed according to whatever your policies and needs are.
It's a good question. It's something that we had a lot of discussion back and forth internally before we chose a partner.
Hi, Isabel from Idealo here. Thanks for your very interesting presentation. And I have a question about, you mentioned the solid foundation that's needed. And coming from I would say, rather smaller company and having a smaller repository, how small is too small for this to work?
I could definitely speak to MMR. I think obviously, we do have a large repository of methodologies and things like that, but I think where we found it, even if you've just got a small number of documents that references it, it's still very good in summarizing and giving those little nuggets and concise insights into a particular topic. But yeah, I think...
Yeah, I mean, technically, of course, the lower limit is one document, but practically for it to make sense, obviously, you would need to have a document corpus that is big enough so that your team wouldn't be able to have that all top of their mind. But there is no really requirement to be big data in any sort here.
Okay, again, Paola Marino from Ferrero. Before a question, so you are saying that you are using so far just internally, so you are piloting, not yet with the client. Okay, so
yeah,
then
exactly.
my question is not relevant anymore.
Okay, this was a yes/no question. We shouldn't ask those questions.
Hi, Vicky from BAT. I guess my question is not just for market logic and MMR. For all the people who are doing AI, LLP, at some point it will be, there's some proprietary, there's some intelligence you put in there to make it, to have an output that is digestible and relevant, right? I wonder if there will be an industry-wide, acceptable truth, because everything seems to be great, like because it's all new. But in a year or so, what is the acceptable truth, and is there anything that is defined to be industry standard? I think it's a question for everybody who's doing AI and LLP.
So are you thinking of industry standard in terms of judging whether quality?
Yeah, whether this quality is really good for me.
Yeah, that's an.
50% good could be good, right? Because it's all new, right?
Yeah, that's an excellent question, and we spend a lot of time on that question. On the one hand, because there's this wide gulf between what a user perceives and what actual reality is. Because what we see with all these AI responses, users mostly look at, does it sound plausible? Does it kind of vibe with what I expect? And then they take it for granted. But that is not necessarily highly correlated with whether it's actually factually correct what you get. Yes, we have done a lot of things internally, but we're also working, for example, on a, let's say, we call it benchmark setup, which we could then use to formally report against how well certain challenges are solved by the tool, which of course still leaves you in the situation to judge whether 75% is good or not good. But at least then there's an objective benchmark, and not only, let's say, PowerPoint slides claiming that we do everything right, but also something that can be then traced and tracked. But it is a complex topic because there's also many complex aspects to measuring this. Yeah.
I have a true question now. So what do you think, still Paola from Ferrero, what do you think is the main benefit for the end client using AI? I mean, cost, speed, depth, what is the main focus for us?
So I think for our end clients, the way that we're seeing it, obviously across those four pillars, I think efficiency is definitely one of them, whether that comes with the cost saving or not, or whether that just allows you to focus more on better storytelling, output that makes more of an impact, or speed to delivery. We were chatting yesterday in the round table about the demands for quicker turnaround, for ever shorter timelines. So I think where we're certainly seeing the benefits is enabling the humans in the loop to focus on delivering to clients versus some of those inefficiencies that you might have had waiting for transcripts or collating lots of information. And that enables us to produce better deliverables, better outputs that make more impact with clients, I think, is where we're really seeing it.
Yeah, and if I may complement that with one remark. So we see the efficiency exactly as you're saying. We also have some case studies in terms of how much it is really that you can save by just asking a question instead of going out and trying to collect the data yourself, which is, I think we found on the order of 15 minutes or so for a question you have. But also we see a big benefit in the effectiveness in that this lowers the hurdle and the barriers of people to use insights, because instead of having to either go to maybe more arcane complex systems to uncover documents that they have to read, or maybe call colleagues and wait for a response, they can very easily just ask a question, and therefore we see higher adoption and higher usage of insights. Simply that is of course harder to quantify, but we believe that's very important.
Ivan from the Catholics again. we all try ChatGPT or Claude, and we notice that the type of prompt will generate a different kind of answer. So, and you mentioned that those, like large language models have specifics to insights, so in a closed system. So I was wondering whether at MMR, for instance, you have developed programs to train your researchers in terms of the right prompts or certain types of prompts, and how do you kind of approach prompting with the use of deep sites?
Yeah, no, so it's a really good question. And I think my team, as I mentioned, are involved in the implementation of lots of different platforms. And that central, I suppose, center of excellence is where we can really develop that knowledge and then share that within the business. So the example I mentioned about visualization of consumer feedback within a focus group, yes, you do need to have thought about how you prompt the AI to generate that image. So we've got best practices that we've learned from doing that a lot of times, and we can then share that knowledge, whether it's examples of prompts, queries, we're talking about social listening, things like that we can share within the team. I think where we're also developing the IP and training the models is, as I mentioned, within the sensory chatbot is a really good example. That is a lengthy process for us to trial and train it, and that the human is doing that. And I think in order to develop proprietary tools and that information, I think that's where we really see the value for the clients, is developing that kind of IP.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.